Hi there, welcome back to the Hammock Hangout. I'm here with Lionel Johnson, founder of Farmers Marketing. He's done amazing things with his career in terms of sales and marketing, and now he's going to share his thoughts on how design impacts marketing as well, just general marketing tips for your business. So why don't you get us started a little bit about kind of how you got into the business in marketing and kind of what inspired you to get in this field.
Well, great. Well, first of all, thanks a lot for having me on this on the show. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
it's an interesting setup here with being in this hammock chair. So, very different. Thanks for asking me to participate. So, good question. How I got started, and I'll give you the quick version. But I actually finished university and had planned on doing something in corrections type work, like police work, and I ended up actually getting a part-time sales job right after school and selling a product called Cutco actually, and found that I was really good in a sales environment, and I enjoyed speaking with people, and I did quite well, and I actually stayed with that company for 10 years. But that was the thing that really got me interested in sales, marketing, business, and entrepreneurship. And then after those first 10 years, I actually moved back to the province, and then I worked in a retail franchise and in the tourism business and in the trucking business. But actually, after those first 10 years, really purely in sales, I've been getting more and more focused and niching down into marketing, right? And first it was sales and marketing, then it was more corporate marketing, and now it really specialized in digital marketing and more modern marketing tactics and strategies. So that's really been the progression of my career. But definitely, when I was back your age, that wasn't my intent to be here now anyway. It just happened, and I've enjoyed the ride.
I never done exactly sales personally, but I have fundraising experience, like fundraising for charities, stuff like that. So that's also a little bit of my background. You kind of see some of the overlap, especially when you're making copy and stuff like that. I find that sales background does help.
Yeah,
so it's really cool kind of overlap.
Yeah, well, that's a really good comment actually, and I've mentioned that a number of times to people as well, that because I spent so much time in sales and really focused on what the customer's needs are, I feel I have a big advantage in the marketing space because I'm able to relate so well to a customer and what their needs are. And we'll actually speak about that with some of the questions that we have, but I find a lot of companies are so focused on speaking about themselves that they're talking about what they're selling, they're not talking about what the customer needs, right?
Exactly.
And we'll get into that, I'm sure, in the next few questions here.
That's huge. And before we get into that, I'd love to know more about kind of what your role is now, what Farmers Marketing does for clients, and just a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're a local marketing company here, and we're basically working mostly with small and medium-sized business owners. That's an area of business that I've always been drawn to, and I really enjoy speaking with business owners that are excited about growing their business, but they don't necessarily know how to navigate in the modern world. And there's so much to be able to know, as you know, in modern marketing, and I don't profess to be an expert at all of it, but I'm really good at being able to identify opportunities for businesses and putting a strategy together and then pulling people together to be able to accomplish that company's goals. That's a short way to be able to say that. There's lots of different aspects within digital marketing that our company would deal with. We are really focused on the lead generation aspect most specifically. And the reason that's the area that we start is that's generally the area that businesses understand the most, right? For example, with farmers, we have a podcast. That's a long game. That's going to take a long time to generate a lot of results. But if we can turn on leads for a client within a week or a couple weeks, they see the value right away and they want to continue that relationship.
That's so true. And these are kind of longer branding plays. Even something like this is kind of building a brand, building an audience, or like a podcast as well. But I think it's so important to kind of gain the trust a little bit with that short-term gains, that ROI, seeing it real quick.
Exactly.
That's really cool stuff, and I think it's a really good approach. Is that everything from SEM, SEO, and Facebook ads and all of that kind of area as well?
We would definitely be involved in all of those areas, and really, I think we can come in at the beginning where we're able to diagnose what is appropriate for businesses, because some businesses, what their needs are, really they should focus more on Google AdWords more so than Facebook ads. But I like to even take a step, back from that, where we're able to address, do they have the simple technical things that they need on their website, like SSL certificates and as in mobile response, all those little things? Do they have the Facebook pixel? And walking a business owner through those things to get that in place. And by that time, then we can say, okay, this is a strategy that you should take because you're looking for these types of leads, or you're trying to recruit people, so you should take this approach. That's generally the way that we've worked, more so than worrying about, hey, we're an SEO specialist or Facebook ad specialist or email automation. Like we deal with all those things, but it depends on what the client really needs, and that would determine what people we would bring in on that project for that client.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm just listening to you right now. Like I love kind of that structured approach, of like step by step, and not just like jamming one idea down the throat. Like you have to do this and so on.
Just a quick example. I actually shared this at a local or a seminar I ran recently, and I was giving the example where my wife and I, we own some investment properties, and we had a meeting with our lawyer, our accountant, and financial advisor, all about what should we do with these properties. Should we pull them into a corporation? Should we not? And what was interesting was the accountant said, absolutely not, or absolutely no, you do not want those in a corporation because you'll be taxed like crazy. The government doesn't like passive assets in a corporation. The lawyer said absolutely they have to be in a corporation. You need to limit your risk. Nothing's more important than limiting your liability. And then the financial advisor had a different answer. So the interesting thing is all three of them were right, but they all were looking at it from a different perspective, right, in a different lens. And so it was all valuable, but then we were able to assess, well, what is most important, saving taxes, reducing liability, or our investments for the future, right? And the reason I bring that up is it's very similar on the marketing side as well. That, you know, what's the saying that if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail, something like that, right? So we don't roll in with a specific solution. We're really identifying what is the unique solution that this business needs, and then we're training them up on that and creating a strategy and implementing.
That's awesome. That sounds like great work. So we are a design agency and love to gear that more to design.
Okay.
In general, what's kind of your design process in terms of either create a website for a client or just your general campaign for a client as well?
Yeah, those are, I guess, two very different answers. One thing that I could explain on the campaign side that I think is very different for a lot of businesses is being able to actually map out what a campaign looks like. And what I find, and we actually talked about this in a recent seminar on a podcast, is a lot of businesses, they produce something and then they sort of look forward, like they produce a blog post, but they don't necessarily know where it is going. Right, and then they put it out into the world and hope that it does something. Where instead, again, I like to step back with that client and actually map out what the whole campaign looks like. And we actually use a tool called Funnelytics. So it's really easy to be able to put in what the final objective is. So say it's a thank you page. I know you guys just ran a big event, right? But was that you guys that had to run an event?
I think there might have been Armin with.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll okay. That's fine. So just to give an example, let's say you want to get someone ultimately to a thank you page, right? Like they want to do business. They want your help as a business, so they filled out, I see, a contact form or a quote form, whatever, and they go to a thank you page. So then we say, okay, well, this is what our objective is to get people to the thank you page. So how do we get them to the thank you page? The only way they get to the thank you page is if they come to that landing page, right? So we're working backwards. Okay, so now how do we get people to the landing page? Well, we have emails that we can send our email contacts there. We're going to run Facebook ads. You know, we can have Google ads. You know, YouTube ads. We're going to run a contest. So basically, you start at the end, and then you're able to work forward, and then you see the design of the whole campaign. And I find that really helps with clients a lot, because now they understand that this blog post, for example, its only job is to get someone to go from here to there. It's not to solve all of their problems. It just has one specific job, right? This one ad. The only purpose of that ad is to get the person to this next step. So hopefully that makes sense. But that's what I mean about the design of the campaign.
Visualize it.
It's very different than what they normally do, right? They just say, oh, we're going to run some Facebook ads, right? And they put a couple $100 into Facebook and run ads, and they often don't get very good results from it because they haven't taken that step to plan everything out properly.
No, that's so true, and it's cool to have kind of visualization in that aspect. And how does the design play into a website, let's say, specifically?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. You know, it's interesting on the design front because there's so many different ways that you could design a website, of course, right? And actually, a colleague that we just did a podcast with, he's in the learning and development space, and he has probably the most different looking website in that entire industry. Like it's really an outstanding website, but he also recognizes because it's so different, it could be too different for their industry, or maybe it's not intuitive enough what people are supposed to do on the website. Sometimes you can be too clever, right, for your audience,
That's
right?
so
and it doesn't
true.
come across as well as you had hoped. And in terms of simple design things, really in today's world, obviously having a mobile responsive website is really important. And I won't take too much time on that. I think we're getting to a point where that's obvious now for people, but I'll give one example, that I've seen is people would have companies would have their desktop version, and then they say, oh, we need to have a mobile responsive website, right? And they jam everything from their desktop into the mobile website, where instead if you look at it from a design perspective and ultimately caring about the actual user, like it's not the business's website, it's really that consumer's website if you look, an interesting way to look at it, right? But that person that's actually using the website, is it easy for them to be able to navigate and use on their phone? So start there, and then you can layer on additional things as you're moving to like a tablet or desktop design. But at the end of the day, you have to be designing it for the person actually using the website, what their needs are, so what's intuitive for them, those sorts of things.
Exactly, and obviously most businesses today are visited on the phone, so that's why people typically take the approach of mobile-first websites.
Right.
And I see that a lot too, especially when you're looking at like these high-level design websites, where it's that balance between clever and like intuitive. And I think it's the best ones are like where it's intuitive and something completely different. But that's like super hard, of course. And I think it's for a lot of companies, especially starting off, it's better just stick with something simple, clean design that keeps intuitiveness and not loses that in the process as well.
Yeah, and this may not, may or may not be a great example, but look at Google. Like it's pretty simple. Right?
Yeah.
A line you put in your question, right?
Exactly.
And you get your answer.
Yeah, it's really straightforward. And do you see kind of the different design aspects that kind of make a design or a website great? How does that impact results? And do you see that impacting your results for clients consistently?
Good question. I wouldn't profess that I am necessarily an expert on exact differences within design. It's not an area that I spend a ton of time, but I really do look at from the basics. What are some design elements that people need to be able to have? I'm not sure if that's answering your question or not.
Like even looking at your own website, I see like a very nice clean layout, a really clear call to action in the middle, and just like a really good structure to it, like really well thought out.
Okay.
And as you kind of see some, especially beginner websites, maybe they just blurt out too much information. They have no clear way to go. They have maybe too many options. Is a classic example of something, or not enough, or like too much copy everywhere.
Yeah.
So I would love to like kind of hear more of your experience in that sense. Do you see businesses doing that? What can you recommend in that sense?
Yeah, well, this may be a little different than what you're looking for an answer. But one mistake or misstep I've seen a lot of businesses take, and it's very easy to make this mistake, is they focus more on their needs and what they're selling more so again than the client. For example, you go to a website and they're like, oh, we're award winning, or we've done this and this and this, or we offer this service, this service, this service. But instead, if you are looking for something and you go to a website and whatever you're looking for, immediately you can see on that homepage that it's speaking to your needs. That's something that's going to grab your attention more, right? And it's a really tough switch mentally, I think, for companies, right? Because they're so focused on getting sales and meeting their targets that sometimes it's tough to take a different approach and say, hey, yes, we need to meet our sales objectives, but we need to have our website speaking to what the customer's pain points are. That's what's going to grab their attention, right? So I guess that would be one thing that you could look at.
And so talking about design, how do you usually see design influencing websites? Specifically, how do you target people's pain points and users' pain points in a website, or some examples around that?
Yeah, good question. And a couple quick examples I could share. One I remember seeing on a website, digitalmarketer.com, and you go there and they have tons of courses and all these different things. And basically all they had on their homepage, it was almost as simple as Google's. It was just a field to capture email addresses, right? That was just a test of a test that they were working on to try and capture more emails. Maybe a better example, though, of addressing people's pain points and the design of a website is actually one example would be with LendingTree, which is actually a U.S. company, and they deal with mortgages and loans and so on. And I had just come across it in some research, that's why I had found them. But what's neat, when you go to their website, you don't see anything about who their founder is and all this fluff and charity work. And not that those things aren't important and people don't care, but that's not why I'm going to their website, right? I need a loan or a mortgage or whatever it may happen to be. But what's neat, you go to their website, and there's a couple icons that help put you in different buckets, right? And there's one simple icon that shows like residential homes, and then commercial commercial buildings and apartment buildings, and there could be refinance, and there's a couple other things I forget. But you basically click on the one icon of a residential home, and then it'll ask questions: are you actively or passively looking for a home? Do you currently have a real estate agent that you're working with? Do you have financing in place? What postal code, what zip code are you in the U.S.? How many bedrooms you're looking for? And you answer, it was like 12 to probably 15, 16 questions, but they're very easy to answer. It's not some long questionnaire. I'm just clicking icons, right? So it's really easy. And at the end, it says, okay, we've completed all your answers, and then I can get a report really easily just by putting in my email, and they'll send me an email saying, okay, based on the answers that you gave us, and the type of home that you're looking for, and the region of the U.S. you're in, here are the available rates and different types of products that apply to you. So I went there right away. I didn't engage with anything else on their website, but I got the answer I was looking for, right? And I think, as time evolves, people are looking for that more and more, right? They want an answer, and they want it right now.
That personalized experience too, throughout the listening process. And it seems like a very interesting process that a lot of kind of service companies could use to really specify for their customers. Having a page where they just do a really quick questionnaire and having that sent to them seems like a really innovative way to target a customer's pain points specifically, not just like through general copy. Or even worse, just talking about the founder did this and so on.
Exactly. Yeah, and another quick example is I have a lot of experience with HubSpot marketing automation, and with that tool, I'm sure there's others that do it as well, is you can actually have something called smart content. So for HubSpot, because it's a marketing software solution, they would sell to marketers, to business owners, and to agencies. So depending on which one of those buckets you've identified yourself as, like say if they know you're an agency, they can actually show you specific content to an agency, or from an agency's perspective on that same page, and where you're a marketer, they can show marketer content, which is that's pretty amazing. When you can get to that level of customization, right? It's one website, but really for even the two of us visiting their website, we have a different experience.
Yeah, even using HubSpot over the summer, it's crazy that their content strategy is so robust, with like so many different types of videos. But I didn't even know that they specify videos to each kind of niche, and especially like from what I've seen is marketing is getting more and more personalized and niche. So running ads on like very specific markets that are specific to them, like moms in Winnipeg, and like if the topic is about moms in Winnipeg and like selling wine or whatever it might be. And it seems like that's the way it's going in so many different ways, like website or HubSpot or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and you just made me think of a term, customer avatars, right? And that's one thing I've seen a lot of companies miss out on as well, is they don't know who their actual customer avatar is. Like I listened to a podcast, and I don't remember the name of the avatar. It's like Jimmy John or whatever. I'll make it up. But he's like, the person that listens to my podcast, they're 38-year-old male. They have a corporate job. They hate their job. They want to do something on the side. They're entrepreneurial. They've got 2 kids. So this person knows exactly who they're designing their podcast for. Now that may not be 100% of their audience, but when they're producing content and speaking directly to their audience, they're speaking just like they're speaking to that one person, right? And that definitely relates with website design, right? That you need to know who is your actual target market, who is your customer avatar, and what are their needs, what do they care about, what do they like to read, what do they want to consume, and that's what you need to produce on your website.
Yeah,
Right?
that's so huge. That specificity of like who is on your website, or even now with the targeting, or even like these kind of questionnaires, it seems like you can have different groups too. Of like these 3 different types of people listen to me, or these 2 different types of people visit my website, whatever it might be, and you break it down to like maybe 3 avatars, whatever it might be. But yeah, I think having good knowledge of the customer is always a great basis for marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
Overall.
And if it's okay to add, you made me think
course.
of one other thing there. When you break it down even to having 3 target customers,
Yeah.
the problem a lot of us get into as business owners, right, is it's very easy to want to be everything to everyone.
True.
Right? So then you keep adding all of this stuff to your website, you know, because you had one customer question about something, or you got a sale from one person that was unique. So
Yeah.
now you want to add that to your website. And really it's outside of what your business actually does, but you're still adding that additional information to your website, right? And it clutters up the site and ruins the experience. So it sounds better in the U.S. and in Canada, but they talk about the riches are in the niches, right?
Yeah.
And when companies can really niche down and know who they're trying to serve, that's where they seem to be the most successful.
That's great advice, especially like talking about the real experience in terms of, you know, kind of the temptingness of adding more stuff to your website, especially when you have like one unique customer, as you said. That's amazing. And I guess on that kind of typical mistake, what would be some other mistakes you see business owners who are just starting off making the website making along with that?
Well, you know, you had mentioned earlier about, you know, white space and the amount of copy, and it's a real fine line, right, between having way too much copy and then you could be so sparse that your site doesn't say anything.
Exactly.
But I'd say, yeah, if we're looking at mistakes, I'd say it's some of the things that we've talked about is they don't know who they're actually speaking to, and they aren't speaking about the customer's needs, and they're speaking about their business needs. Those would be some big ones. And then there can be a lot of technical things that they're just missing, and that's one of my entry points with new clients. It's just fixing up some of those technical things, like they don't have SSL certificates. The website isn't mobile, or they could have a whole bunch of photos on their website that are like 8 megabytes each. And the website's super slow. Or a lot of people that aren't marketers, they really like sliders. That's one thing that is a pet peeve of mine, right? And that makes sense because then you're like, well, we can show all 5 of our services instead of one. But again, it's a horrible experience on mobile normally, and it slows down a website and so on. So those are some of the common things that I've seen almost all the businesses that I've worked with at first.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are like a bunch of great ideas right there right off the bat. And then transitioning from websites to more kind of social media, because I know you also touch on that as well, on your aspect. And I don't know if there is any kind of aspect of design, but kind of maybe design thinking go into someone's social media, or what should, I guess, people be thinking about when they're thinking about their social media?
Yeah, good question. Well, I would definitely say that someone's social media should be a representation of their business, like the style of the business, right? And especially on Instagram, like some people have really amazing looking feeds and very nicely designed. It doesn't mean like highly professional, but you can tell that there's a brand, you know, at the base of what they're posting, right? And it's really just an extension of the rest of their business. I think that's a really important thing. One thing that maybe isn't specific to design, but it's talking about what the market needs. One example I've heard of with people that are, say, launching a book, like let's say you wrote a book and you're publishing it, what someone could do for 30 days is they do 30 days of live videos, all with a little snippet of that book, right? So then they can share that over the month, but then what they can do when that time is done is they can actually look back and see what posts really engaged, like got a lot of engagement, right? And sometimes as business owners and leaders, we really like something and we post it and share it and we expect it to do really well. And then we share something that we aren't as excited about and it does incredibly well. So just because I like something doesn't mean that the market will, and ultimately it's what the market wants that we need to, you know, be producing for people, right? So I think that would be maybe one way to look at look at it through a design lens. Is what does the market actually care about? Do they want something really professional, or do they want it less professional? Should be fun, should be serious, should be corporate, and just make sure that there's that consistency between how you deal with people, what your website looks like, what your proposals look like, what your social media looks like as well.
And having every touch point consistent in design and feel in the UX, like the user experience throughout the whole thing.
Okay, so another example, looking at how social can be an extension of your business and looking through a design perspective. I actually just did a podcast recently with Proposify, which is a really cool software tool to make really nicely designed and professional looking proposals. And one of the interesting things that we spoke about is that companies spend tons of money on advertising, tons of money on marketing and brochures, trade shows, all these certain things. And now they're actually face to face with a client, and that client has narrowed it down to 1 or 2 or 3 suppliers, and they're pretty serious about working with the company. And now the company just sends them like a black and white proposal that's been put together in Word, and it's not nicely designed. And it's interesting to think about. That's really where the investment should be, right? Because you have a very serious prospect there that is looking to become a customer. So you can look at a proposal the same way and have it with a really polished design aspect as well. And the reason I bring that up is you can use the same thing in social media, right? So whatever your brand stands for, your business is all about, what you deliver, really looking at the design of the social media to match that and be an extension.
Yeah, make the whole user experience consistent throughout the person's experience with your brand.
That's right.
And then having your decisions data-driven as well, as you said, like mentioning how a marketer might think this will work, but it doesn't, or like they're not that excited about something they post out, and it does work. Same thing with websites. You see that maybe a certain layout works better when you actually process what your users are doing,
right,
and collect that data. It's so important to kind of make your decisions based off data, not just intuition.
Your comments right there, from my experience, very few people actually take the time to be able to look at their website like that, right? It's, I'm a leader in the business, I like that design, I like sliders, so we need to have sliders, or I like this, or I'm the founder and I want my picture to be on there, my picture has to be on there, right? And that's not what the market wants, that's not what the data says, that's just unfortunately what I'm seeing. I've seen definitely a lot of that, and I know that's the space you guys are operating in, so definitely there's lots of opportunity there to help people through that process.
That's super interesting. And then kind of viewing bigger picture, what are kind of some general tips you would give for someone's social media in general, and what a business starting up should be doing?
Good question. So what could they be doing on social media? Well, one thing I would say is just to be able to get started and again find out what the market is telling them. And I know I've already talked about that, but more my point is it's very easy as a business owner or leader to want things to be perfect, right? And you don't want to send something out into the world until it's absolutely perfect. And a lot of times it's just better to put stuff out into the world and see what happens, right? Because you can continue to evolve. And especially like, let's say as of today, you started up your own YouTube channel, your first couple of videos are probably going to be a total train wreck, right? But they're going to get better over time, right? And your audience will start sharing things that they like and things that they don't like, or they have questions, and you're able to refine, right? But if you just don't get started, then you never get that feedback, right? So that's what I suggest in social media. Every business is a little bit different, but I would say that when they are sharing something, that they should really focus on sharing value, right? And something that's interesting and engaging, enlightening, or thought-provoking. One mistake I do see is companies will say, yes, we're in social media, and every one of their posts are, we're hiring, right? And that really doesn't have a lot of value, right? So one question I ask a lot in marketing is, who cares? So when you're posting something, ask yourself, who cares about this? And if the answer is nobody, well then don't post it. But if you really need to share that, then you think it differently and you say, well, how can we produce this content that someone actually cares about? And then go and produce that. right? So don't communicate just for the sake of communicating, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
again, that all goes back to that user experience and what does the actual customer, client, end user, what do they really care about?
Yeah, that's,
Whatever that is, and go to work to help them.
that's so in terms of kind of looking at your marketing, some of the best marketing, what I've learned from my professor Miles Barr, who still is the VP of marketing for Everything Studio, used to be Snapchat Studio, a huge company. He talks a lot about kind of reiterating your design of your marketing to taking that data, have it data driven. So let's say you're doing an ad campaign, you keep narrowing it down to what's working better, or a website, or whatever it might be, or through social media. Get started, and it might suck at first, but as you kind of learn what people like, you'll actually improve your content and how you offer value. Because at the end of the day, I think that's a lot to do with the content. You want to make sure you make something that offers value.
Yeah. And things I'd say have really changed as well, because people, when they're looking at Instagram stories, they're not expecting something super polished, or you're reading from a teleprompter. It's not like corporate videos of the days past, right, where it was very scripted. Those types of videos don't do very well anymore, at least in my opinion. And when people can see that realness, and you're even able to level with them that it's a new business and you're growing and you want their feedback, you want to produce more of what they care about, that resonates with people, and that's where you get your super fans from, right, and you build your audience from that. Yeah, so I definitely agree with your professor.
Yeah, no, he was amazing, incredible content. One of the best classes I took for sure.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I think that's in general. We want to talk about the design and our website. I think touching on your podcast, I'd love to hear more kind of what you're doing and share with everyone what you're doing with your podcast and where to find it as well.
Yeah, no, that would be great. Yeah, I have a podcast called Master Modern Marketing, and it's been a real blast so far. So I actually have two aspects to the podcast. So the main focus of the podcast actually is doing a website and marketing audit for small and medium-sized businesses. So they actually apply on our website at farmersmarketing.ca, and they tell us a bit about their business, who their target market is, what their product is, how many emails do they have, those sorts of things. And then we're able to do an audit, and we actually have a live coaching call on the podcast. Wow. So then we sit down together and we talk through the audit, and then I question them about why they're doing certain things, or have you ever thought about this, or let's try this together, and basically give a lot of feedback. So at the end of that podcast, they know exactly where their business stands in terms of modern marketing, and they know what to do to be able to improve their business.
Yeah.
Now they can do that themselves. They can go and hire another marketing company. They can choose to work with us. That's really less important. The most important thing is that they've received a ton of value and they know where they are at and how to fix it. And then the other part of the podcast is interviewing digital marketing and business leaders, or digital marketing experts and business leaders that can speak to a specific part of modern marketing. So again, with the podcast yesterday, it was about modern proposal writing. Or we've done a podcast with Check It, a review company where you're getting more online reviews. So those are helpful podcasts as well for the small and medium-sized business owners, because they can learn more about what they can do in the modern world to grow their business.
That's awesome. That sounds super huge.
Yeah.
Great kind of content strategy for yourself as
Yeah,
well.
it's been really good. I've enjoyed it, and I've had great feedback so far. So people can listen to it in iTunes or Google Play, SoundCloud, anywhere you watch or anywhere you listen to podcasts, or they can go to our website at farmersmarketing.ca.
Yeah, check out farmersmarketing.ca, and you can even try to find like a company that's like yours in the podcast, and probably can use a lot of the tips that he's sharing. So yeah, really great having you.
All right, well, thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah.
It was a real pleasure.
Yeah, and thank you for hanging out with the hammock. It was really awesome, and hope to see you soon.
All right, thank you.
Take care.